Right, everybody, no fancy intro, no music, no introduction written. This is what happens when you go to Cockermouth. As you can see, I was speaking to Mitch in the green room, and he complimented the tartan headboard, as you can see there. What was your description, Matt? Matt's like Mitch.
Generic holiday cottage chic.
Yeah. So this is being recorded from deepest, darkest Cumbria. Commitment to the cause. Taking my laptop on holiday and recording the pod. I know we've not done one for 10, 11 days, so thought we'd catch up. So we're here with Matt, Mitch, and Tim. How are you all doing, gents? Tim, you went to Oxford, didn't you?
I did. I just about recovered today, I think. I was feeling a bit jaded yesterday. So when he said we were doing a podcast last night, I wasn't too disappointed, I have to say. But I'm sat here now with my ice pack on me, the back of the calf, on the basis that I'm foolish enough to still think I can play football, and I've popped my cartilage today. So,
is it walking football or proper football?
No, it was actually proper football, and I thought I was faster than I could. Well, I'm not very fast anyway, but as you know, from having watched me, so normally I play within myself, but I stretched and I heard a pop, which isn't good.
It sounds like you've done a Smith, and doing a Smith isn't related to you, Matt. You know, the famous doing a Smith of missing last-minute winners, but you've done a Smith now, Tim, by being having a serious muscular injury. Nick still...
Yeah, maybe if I'm going to prolong my football career, I need to stop doing long-distance away games on Saturday and an overnight stop and coming back on Sunday. I think sitting in the car probably isn't going to maximise my performances, I don't think. Or give up the football, one of the two. Or just
Matt, you retired a long time ago, didn't you? I think you made the right choice.
Yeah, I did.
I
did. Yeah, several years of playing on Common Edge Road takes its toll when it's like bloody concrete for 3/4 of the season, isn't it?
It's actually really good Common Edge now. You know, they've redeveloped the whole thing.
I believe so. Yeah. My nephews play there, and they seem to rave a little bit about it, despite them being two little knobbers. But never mind.
How have you allowed that to happen?
Your son doesn't drink. You've got two knobbers as nephews. What is going on?
I know. Well, this is it. When your sister marries a Preston North End fan, I can't. Nothing to do with me, is it? You know. But anyway, they might see the light eventually. You know, when we swap places in 12 months' time, you never know.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Matt was a centre half. Tim's obviously a Pirlo style. Superlative midfielder. What position did you play when you didn't? I'm assuming you used to play, or did you?
No. I am what's the word? I can't think of the right word for it. But I played in the same school team that Neil Whitworth made his name in. The wonderful ex-Manchester United loan player, off featured in worst ever pool 11s. So he actually went to my school. So it was 5 years after he left that I played in that. But I was a keeper initially, and then when I got fed up from just being blamed for all the goals, I played centre back. I used to love playing centre back. I would. It's quite a good question of who would you be in the Blackpool team. I actually would think that the nearest player that I played like was Jimmy Husband. I used to fancy myself as a bit of a cultured centre half.
See, I thought you'd be centre forward doing the old Medine.
No, it's a terrible finisher. It was hopeless.
At least you'll be left side.
So Medine, but he just holds the ball up and plays on things.
Yeah, no. I used to fancy myself a bit of cultured centre half, but maybe slightly too small, ideally, to play the position. But I used to try and, like play in my head as much as anything else, and be there first before. Yeah. Because I wasn't the biggest, but if you could think it through. But yeah, I probably haven't played a game of football for a decade, to be honest. But last time I did, my mate had a birthday party, and he got us a book Vida, or what was Vida, and I probably couldn't walk properly for about 8 days afterwards.
I was like that after I played a full size 11-a-side game. I think it was something to do with not BST. It was with that supporters team, Tim, with the 6 Lee Morton shirt. He organised 11-a-side. Now it ruined me. 2 weeks to recover. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to play age appropriate games that are at our vintage. I think.
Yeah, just pub games now. That's it.
Could have a podcast 5-a-side special, maybe. No, maybe not. Maybe not. Definitely not.
Foot golf as we did.
Yeah.
Who would we take on?
The problem is you pull your hammies playing foot golf because all you're doing each time is launching the ball down the pitch.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
All the hammies go.
Yeah. Right, I suppose we better catch up, hadn't we? So let's start on Stevenage 3-0. The lovable rogue that is Steve Evans came to town again, and they were dispatched, I think is a good word. Jordan Rowan's on the score sheet again, Tim, with a brilliantly improvised goal. Did he mean it? Chesting it in.
I'm 100% certain he meant it. I think sometimes, the ball's coming in. Was it Norman who had the shot? I'm trying to remember now. The shot. Yeah. Norman did have the shot, and whether the keeper would have saved it, we don't know. But just to send it the opposite direction is like you say, the improvisation is something else. And I've just spent about half an hour. Came in from my injury-plagued performance this evening, and had a delightful hour listening to Jordan. I'm sure we're going to revisit it again. And he spoke about the way he approaches shooting and getting the weight on the ball or whatever. And I've no doubt whatsoever in my mind that he 100% knew what he was doing with that. And I think that's a sign of a true poacher in the box. So yeah, I mean, you always worry, don't you, when Blackpool are playing, particularly a physical team. I think when we played the Gillinghams and the like in the past in this division, we've sometimes got bullied, haven't we? But I just think overall, and I'm sure we're going to talk about the other goals, but overall, I just thought we're too good for them. I think in fact, Jimmy, it's interesting, isn't it? Jimmy Husband spoke this week about the strength of the squad and suggested that it's a lot better than it was the year we got promoted. And
wow,
I think when you look at who we've got and who we can drop in, I mean, I think somebody did a comparison October to October, and we had like Dimitri Mitchell in and Grant Ward in, and you look at what we've got now, and I think we probably are. I think we've probably got 2 players for every position at the moment, which we didn't quite have 3 years ago. But I have to say, I was quite impressed the way we went about it. We sort of dissected them. It was like I never felt the result was really under pressure, apart from when I nipped to the bar just before half time and saw the replay of their equaliser. What should have been an equaliser, I think, probably. But overall, I was very impressed. Jordan Rhodes is like on a different level as far as I'm concerned.
Matt, let's come to you then about the Cambridge game. Obviously, Owen Dale was playing with a bit more of a bit fire in his belly, particularly after his bad news, and I think that must have fired him up some way because he was all over the place, wasn't he? He was brilliant.
He was, and just to add a little bit on to Tim's comments earlier, I thought the one of the main things you have to do with any Steve Evans side when you're playing against him is compete, and I thought we did that from the first second onwards. And then when you can boss a midfield and win the ball and be competitive, then it allows the likes of Owen Dale and your more flary type of players to do what they're able to do. And that was really impressive. I thought in the midfield in particular, I thought Dougal was immense that particular game. He just battled and battled and battled. First balls, second balls, third balls. And then we maybe got a little bit of a break with that disallowed goal. But overall, certainly the first half and beyond, I mean, I don't remember a spell. Possibly they might have had 5 minutes before they the half-time break. But I thought we were well marshalled at the back. I noticed that Casey was almost like the spare man in the box when we were defending, because that was one of their strengths, and we'd obviously worked on that. And he was basically not involved in any marking whatsoever. He was just there to win the ball all the time, and he pretty much did that 8 times out of 10. So I thought we just got everything right. And against a canny operator like Steve Evans, I thought it was a really, really good performance all round, really. And Owen Dale, as you mentioned, terrible week for him, but yeah, I think if anybody wanted a goal and deserved a goal after that, it was him. Bit of a deflection, but who cares? You know, hit the back of the net and made us comfortable at 2-0 at that particular point.
Mitch, over to you. I'm just looking at the stats for this game. I know you have now morphed into Mr. McGinley, so I'm sure you can recall these stats and events in the game like that. Drop at your hat.
Drop a South American player in as well while I'm at it.
What's that?
Probably drop a South American player or 2 in while I'm at it as well.
What was that one that you invented? What was the manager that you were? Javier Fernandez or something?
Yeah, and then Linton Kimpembe was the other one, wasn't it?
But yeah, CJ finishing off the route, wasn't it? And I think as the previous two have just said, it was a comfortable performance. And I think Critchley's really done his homework on these, and it does show when he's kind of a student of the game and coaching, when he can control teams like Steve Evans' teams in the way we did.
Yeah, it was the third goal was lovely. I mean, it was kind of the icing on the cake that Matt described. We had competed, we had fought, we'd sort of gone up against them in terms of I don't know, industrial football, and we'd earned the right to play. And it was a lovely, lovely goal. I think it was Norburn sort of swayed and turned and won a bit of space. There's a lovely ball at one point in it from Rhodes. I think he turned it around the corner again. CJ running onto it, and it was great because I kind of had the, oh no, it's CJ. I hope he comes close at least. And what a finish it was! It was absolutely superb, and it was a lovely moment because the lad a couple of spaces up from me. He just turned to me and shouted, "It's CJ!" And I went, "Yeah, we always said he was good, didn't we?" And we just were laughing at each other.
Was it in the "It's Medine" kind of?
Yeah, it was very much in that vein. And
was he paraphrasing that? Was he paraphrasing?
Well, maybe he was. We are influencers after all, aren't we? But and
umpires are coming soon. Remember,
the people in the row below turned around and we were all just like, I don't know. It was really nice because CJ's he's served it back to us this year, hasn't he? And I think he served it back to everyone. It was lovely because he's been playing really well. I mean, what is it we always said about him being a 1 in 10 player? And actually now he's probably played well in 6 of the last 7 or 7 of the last 8 or whatever. And I think it was just lovely for him to get that reward of the sort of goal he was scoring when he first signed for us as well. So hopefully more of that, more of that belief that he's capable of scoring. Because if CJ can chip in with 6, 7, 8 goals, then that's going to be a bonus on top of players like Rhodes and Kouassi and what have you scoring.
And what's our criticism when he plays on the right? He doesn't cut in, or doesn't cut in enough, and it's a classic example. If you are going to invert your players, and obviously with Dale did it as well. To be fair, didn't he, on the other side where he cut in and scored and Siege. So what do we know?
Yeah, exactly.
CJ was very clever with his goal, wasn't he? He knew the defender was there and just ran across him diagonally, so he knows if he gets clipped, pen. And he's got the perfect angle to open up and angle that shot. And I sort of knew he was going to score, Tim, from the way his body shape.
Yeah, I mean, what we haven't touched upon, and just before I come back to CJ's body shape with the goal, which I thought was superb, we haven't really touched upon the whole move that led up to that, where I think we'd had
there
about
was that angle
literally 25 passes.
Yeah.
There was a bit of ole going on, wasn't there? And then the ball went back, and then there was like a few moans and mutterings, really. But what it just showed is that we had so many players comfortable on the ball, and we switched, we were patient, and sometimes we can be indecisive with that. But in this scenario, it worked perfectly because we went from one side to the other side. Mitch has talked about Norburn's contribution. I thought Jordan Rose's contribution was superb. The 1-2 with CJ that sent him away. And again, that's another example of Jordan bringing other players into the game in a way that really highlights their contribution more than his, probably. And to cut inside and finish with a plum in the way that he did was just like the icing on the cake, really. And it's probably, I mean, listen, again, I go back to right at the beginning of the season, I've tipped us to win the league. And I think what we're starting to see is that we have got the ability. I think I'll be honest, I still think Critchley ballsed up some of those early games where I think it was far too defensive. But I think the players, we've going back to the comment that Husband made about this team, and I've listened to Jordan speak about the team and how these players in this team have got far more ability than him. I'm sure that's him being overly modest, I suspect. But equally, you look around the side and there's some great players in every single position. And if one player drops out, I'll come on to Oxford. But I think if we've got cover in most positions, which is great.
I think they're just
even with injuries, even with injuries.
Yeah, I think they're just starting to believe, aren't they? They've had a couple of decent results. Stevenage won, and obviously we'll talk about Oxford one in a sec. Charlton away the other week, etc. And yeah, you just need these little bits of encouragement from a player's perspective, and then they start thinking, actually, yeah, we're all right in this division. We're good, and if we can be on the front foot a little bit more, we can actually, beat many teams 3-0. I'm sure as the season progresses.
And do you know, man, what I think is also going to be quite important moving forward? I think there's a couple of players who perhaps haven't really felt it yet, but have felt it this season. Is like the tangerine love, and I don't mean that in a soppy way, but I think CJ's sort of won the crowd over now, hasn't he? I think we saw it with Dale as well. I think a bit, and again, and I highly commend anybody who hasn't done so to listen to Andy Bay's interview with Jordan Rhodes. But Jordan Rhodes is clearly loving the interaction with the crowd and interaction with teammates and the way things are going at the moment. And I think there's quite a bit of positivity out there, and I think we need to develop that hopefully in a way that gives us what we've had in the past, where we've really had the connection between the stands and the team on the pitch. And I sort of feel it happening a little bit. Most certainly, I think everybody really got behind Owen on was it week last Saturday. And I don't think anybody all of us are so pleased for him, because obviously dealing with what he's had to deal with is shocking. But to show the fortitude to come out and play the way he did is a great way of dealing with that type of situation and showing what a great character you've got as well. So I'm starting to feel slightly more positive than I was doing a few weeks ago. Let's put it that way.
Well, if you look at the teams that we're competing with, particularly away from home, it's all the top teams. Like I'm putting Stevenage in that category. We've bossed them really, and they're in the top 6. We've gone toe to toe with Oxford at the weekend. Second, obviously, 5 wins out of 5. Barnsley we've beaten. Charlton are the top team we should have beaten. So I think it's a similar pattern to. Do you remember when we went up under Critchley? We seem to do well against the top teams.
And actually, some of the teams, John, who we think were going to be crap this year, Burton are on a run. Wickham are literally in and around us as well, So you start to look at some of the teams we've been playing, and most of the teams we've been playing are like not all at the top, but they're all top half. Most of them are top half. You know, a couple of exceptions, but not many.
I think what you saw in Stevenage as well was, I actually thought they were all right for the first 25 minutes. I thought they looked quite potentially dangerous. I thought they were quite, they got the ball forward very quickly. They hit the channels in a very calculated way. They moved well for each other. They were very, very competitive. But I think what you saw was that when their first or their dominant way of playing didn't work, they didn't really have anything else they could do. And they didn't really have anything when they made changes, it didn't really change anything. And they had a couple of suspensions as well. And I think that probably weakened them from their first 11. And I think it goes back to what Husband was saying about us having the quality. And I think in those first games where you alluded to, where we weren't very good, it really didn't feel like we had the variety. And I think we now have that, because we now have players like Kouassi who can play, or you can play Lavery, or you can play Rhodes, or you can play any one of about 5 or 6 midfielders, or you can bring Dembele on and you can play him in this position or that position. And I think that's something a lot of League One teams don't have. I think we're probably first 11 versus first 11. There'll be League One teams that will match us, but we've got 18, 19, 20 plus players competing for a first team place who you could conceivably see contributing to the season. And I think that's where we are. I think that's where I agree totally with Jimbo, is that we are ahead of where we were certainly in October last year.
I mean, what a turnaround it's been over the last sort of four to 5 games from, the opening 5 or 6 games where everyone was very downbeat, bored at watching the football, and it's just been a refreshing change the last few games, hasn't it?
Mind you, in saying that, John, if we want to swiftly segue into Oxford, I thought we were going to that with the first sort of half display against Oxford. We were just passive and slow and beige and just boring and not doing anything. And they didn't have to try hard, and we tried less hard. And it was just, I could just see another Wickham away performance coming here.
Yeah.
And, we've snapped out of it at half time. But, fortunately, we don't want to see many of those 45 minutes again, quite frankly, because we don't need to do that. We're a good, positive thinking outfit, really. And on our front foot, we can beat anybody. We can actually beat anybody in this division. I'm sure of it. But we just have this little thing in the back of our head, and whether it's instruction or whether it's just a bit of not quite got the confidence flowing yet or whatever it is, I'm not quite sure. But it was just really disappointing. If it wasn't for it being a brand new television, I'd be throwing things at it on Saturday. Honestly, it was just.
We have talked about. We do feel as a bit of you always feel as a bit of a handbrake on, don't you?
Yeah.
And where they're told just to contain and soak up and obviously I was there on Saturday, and I agree with you. It was a very frustrating first half. I do think we missed. Listen, it's no criticism of Tashan, because he's come in and it's one of his first games for us. But I do think we missed Noburn a bit in that middle. I felt that Dougal was perhaps having to cover a bit more. I think Dougal has been incredible the last few weeks.
Yeah,
I felt that he was having to cover a little bit more than he would have had to do if Norburn had been there. Listen, then you watch what comes in the second half, and we dominated them. I don't know how much we're going to go into this as regards dealing with an overview, but quite frankly, the substitutions were all positive. And we're literally the last 20 minutes we were camped in their half, but positively camped in their half, not just passing it around at the back. And we were creating angles, we were going at players, and and we did everything that we could to get that equaliser.
That sort of backs up what Matt said originally, though, is that the first time under Critch, and particularly obviously in the Championship against better teams, we really were a side that we did hit teams very well on the break, and we were very, very good at that. And you could sort of sometimes see that we might have one of these passive performances where it was almost as if we were kind of waiting for a chance to spring that never came. But in Critch 2.0, we don't seem to be that side that hit on the break anymore. We seem to be actually a much better side when we attack, and when we take the initiative, and when we do have, you know, we've had a few of those games now where we've had actually really quite long spells of pressure and attack, and we always look a better side for that intent. We look a better side for taking the risk. And sort of committing the players forward, and maybe actually not being quite so obsessed with the defensive shape and tracking the man and trying to have the spare player and hopefully, I mean, like you say, whether it's in the mind of the players or whether it is an explicit instruction from Critchley, who I don't know. He keeps talking about front foot football. He keeps talking about that's what he wants. So. Maybe it is just mentality and belief.
I think also he's mentioned this before, hasn't he? That he's been trying to bring this new style of play into the club. You know, I wouldn't even say the three centre halves at the time. When you see on Saturday, there was times when Pennington was overlapping Hamilton and Husband was overlapping Dale, and it was great to watch. And maybe this is, from the players' perspective, they're starting to believe in it a little bit more, but only when they have that positive mentality to believe in it. And maybe that's where the issue was with missing Norburn, because obviously Norburn and Dougal provide that solid base for Husband and Pennington and maybe whoever else to go a bit forward. But I think the penny's dropping, and I think hopefully that 45 minutes in both halves actually will make the players realise, actually, we don't need to be passive. And yes, we can be more positive. And therefore, we can actually start games like we finished against Oxford and maybe kill teams off by half-time, you know. And that's the way to go at it. And then we can be a little bit more, I wouldn't say casual, but we can just more control the game, can't we, if we're 2-0 up with 25 minutes to go or whatever.
I think in the first half we didn't have a shot of note. I can't remember one.
No,
I don't think we had a shot.
No.
You want to have a look
at the halfway line?
And in the second half, Jordan alone had 3, if not 4,
really.
half decent chances, didn't he?
Yeah, could have had 4. Could have had 4 goals. Just saying, have a look at this then. That's
there you go. Blimey.
That's the momentum graph from the game. For the benefit of the audio pod, first half, it's just pretty much all yellow. They have a dash of tangerine. Second half, it's a complete reversal. And
towards the end,
and the rest.
We've got so much momentum at one point there, John. It's broke the graph towards the end.
I mean, the last 20 minutes felt like they didn't touch the ball. I mean, literally, that is, we're away from home to have that much possession in the second half and momentum. You do wonder whether they were sitting off trying to hold on for the 1-0, but to be honest, you can't do that all the second half. So the statistics there suggest it was just relentless pressure from us.
Yeah, and this is a team that won. Sorry, Mitch. I was going to say this is a team that had won 9 out of 11 and the last 4 straight or whatever it's been. So, for them to, contract like we were able to make them was, testament to how good we were in that, particularly in that last 25 minutes or whatever it was.
I was surprised as well, actually. I mean, I think Matt, or I can't remember which one, Matt or Tim said it before, but they didn't really do a lot first half. I mean, that graph bears that out as well. And they were a lot cagier than the Carl Robinson Oxford sides that we had a really good record against under Critch, because Carl Robinson's teams really gave you a chance. They would come at you, but first half was kind of like Critchley versus Critchley. They were very much, you know, knock it around, pass it square, knock it around, and the thing that really differentiated them to us, I think, was they carried the ball a bit better through the middle, but it wasn't like they were peppering Grimmy with shot after shot after shot, was it? And then, you know, I think again that's testament to our ability to attack, is that, you know, they were a well-drilled side, they were a well-organised side, and we hammered away at the door, and eventually we broke it down. And that's always been what I think you fear the weaknesses under Critchley, of breaking down those stubborn sides, and we stuck at it and we did it. So
the Oxford goal in the first half, he's called Greg Lee, the lad, I think.
Yeah.
It's incredible the amount of goals he scored. I think he's 5 or 6 goals, their top scorer. It was a very...
He thinks he's Roberto Carlos or something, doesn't he? Coming from the back.
Yeah.
Is he left back or something? Left back or
Yeah,
right back?
Jamaican left back.
It was quite a soft goal. Was it? Fair play to Oxford. You know, it was a decent build-up, but for him just to not be picked up and run into the box.
Yeah, it was probably... It was probably, how can I put it? You know, they worked it well, and you know, you got a winger on one side who doesn't stop the cross, and you got a winger on the other side who doesn't defend properly. And unfortunately, that's, you know, sometimes that's the way it goes with the formation that we play, isn't it? You've got lads who just generally aren't natural defenders, and unfortunately, we weren't able to stop the cross and weren't able to prevent the goal. And you know, and that was why we conceded, really. But that was literally there. I think they might have had one shot or one header, from what I remember, that Grimshaw saved really easily. But that was really their only one clear cut opportunity the first half. Typical, they took it. And yeah, it was a first half to sort of almost forget, really, wasn't it? But yeah, we can think about and be positive about the, you know, the second half, and hopefully we'll carry that on to Tuesday night as well.
So what was the catalyst for the change then? Because it wasn't immediate after the second half, was it?
Well, the possession was. I think the possession was. I think what we did was we made positive changes that tried to ensure that we got ourselves back in the game, which we needed to do.
Didn't he, when he came on? Lavery was a nuisance when he came on for Quest.
Yeah, he had that situation, didn't he, where he charged somebody. I can't remember how he did it now, but he charged somebody down, and then he winning the ball back on the right hand side, and he was. I was a bit frustrated in the first half because we had Kouassi on. Listen, I think most of us rate him, and I most certainly really rate him. And we kept playing when we played the ball long, we never played it to him. And I kept thinking, why? You know, we've got a lad there whose skill set involves flick-ons and holding the ball up, and yet we kept on hitting it towards Jordan. We kept hitting it towards CJ, and I'm thinking, just. You know, aim it in the vague direction of Kouassi. So I felt a bit frustrated for him, really, because I didn't feel that we played to his strengths at all in the time that he was on the pitch. And the odd time that we did, he got himself involved, but the game seemed to pass him by a little bit, but more because of other people's inadequacies rather than him not particularly having a great game. And I think probably Critchley realised he needed to shake it up a bit. And Lavery did make a huge difference. And then, as did in particular did Dembele when he came on. Just gave us something different and gave them something different to think about rather than what we were already doing, which wasn't bad. But it was about right, well, let's do something different, because I thought CJ and Dembele in particular seemed to work quite well together. And actually, CJ seemed to be give the ball to Dembele more than try and do his own stuff, which was interesting because normally CJ gets it. It's like head down, isn't it? And he's like, I'm only going one place. But he didn't. He stopped, checked his side, tried to find Dembele quite a bit. And I think generally it worked reasonably well, just to freshen it up more than a criticism. I've got to say, I thought Tashan I'm not saying he was out of his depth, but it's one of his first games, and I wasn't surprised to see him pulled. But some of the other substitutions were just a case of just doing something different, I think.
I thought Oakley Booth probably, he had some nice work, and he had some work that looked like a player who hadn't played a game of league football for quite a long time. He made a couple of there was one really good challenge he made where I can't remember if he'd lost the ball or somebody else had lost the ball, and he kind of went round, one of those sort of tackles from behind where you take it cleanly. It was a lovely piece of work, and he carried the ball quite nicely at times, but there were other moments where he looked like he wasn't, like you alluded to before, like he wasn't quite as au fait with what we were doing as a team that as Norburn would have been. But I mean, he's like, he hasn't played league football since playing for Lincoln in that disastrous loan spell he had, where I think they sent him back in the end. It went so badly. So you've got to give him time, haven't
you? Tim, let's talk about Dembele then. Just given 10 minutes to make an impact, but I think, as you've mentioned, what an impact he made, particularly on the last 15 minutes. That, as I said to my mate Steve, who's been on here before, the Oxford fan, I said, you were like a boxer on the rope, just getting pummeled and waiting to be knocked out in that final sort of 15 minutes. And
there was almost an inevitability about it, really. Without a shadow of a doubt. And I think Critchley has a conundrum here with him, doesn't he? Because he's an incredible talent, but do you start him? Because he started him against Derby, to be fair, not that long ago, and
flat to
different position.
And in a slightly different position. And
we played him up front,
ironically, he pulled him off. He pulled him off just as he started.
He was a target man up front.
Yeah.
He was a target man up front against Derby.
Yeah, and I think listen, Critchley's learning where his best position is, and it ain't up there, is it? So he needs to be another 10 or 15 yards back, picking the ball up and going at players. And obviously, there's decisions to make as regards who starts, where they start, and whatever. But yeah, Dembele isn't going to be playing, I wouldn't think, very often in that advanced role because it clearly doesn't suit him. But I thought he made an incredibly positive contribution when he came on. But you got the question is, where does he start and who does he start ahead of if he's going to play? Because equally, Dale's playing well, CJ's playing well, Dougal's playing well, Norburn's playing well, which is what you want in it. It's headaches for the manager, but nice. Well,
I think it's pretty obvious that. I think it's pretty obvious to me that, and I'll say it, I think it's pretty obvious to me that if you're going to play him, you play him instead of Sonny. But I don't think you can ask him to do what you've been asking Carey to do, which is sort of basically play a number 8 role and an advanced number 8 role. I think you've got to play Dembele as what he is, which is a creative box of tricks with he's got the ability to pick the lock of the opposition, but he is about 5'3", so he's going to weaken you defensively. I mean, he's a hard-working lad from what I've seen of him. He gets about, and for his size, he's strong. But he's if you're going to risk playing him sort of in the middle, then he is going to get out jumped for balls, and he is going to get pushed off the ball by players. But you've got to balance that up against what he brings you in an attacking sense. So I think if you're going to play him, you play him in place of Carey. But I think you don't ask him to do the same role that Carey's been doing. You've got to essentially, like Critch was willing to do with Bowler, you've got to say, right, lads, you go and score goals and do what you do. The rest of us will do the defensive work. Because when he came on, he had absolutely no defensive duties to do at all. He just picked the ball up. And when I watch the highlights back, when we lose play, Dembele's actually drifting into space, anticipating us picking the ball up again, so he's free. Whereas before he goes off, when we lose possession, sort of Carey's tracking back to his man, and that's the difference, really, is that we end up with a free man in midfield or an extra man in midfield. and I'd certainly be willing to take the gamble, because I think he could be the player that takes us from being, a solid, competent side, capable every now and again of playing one of those great team goals to a really, really impressive side at this level.
Mm. Yeah, I totally agree, Matt. I think that's the thing, that I'm assuming that's why we brought him into the club in the first place. We knew what he was all about. Our scouting system and all the rest of it is allegedly pretty good. So it's not like we're buying him completely unknown or anything. We know what he's capable of doing. We've just got to find, he's square peg in the square hole for him, haven't we? And I can see the problem that we've got now, because it unbalances things a little bit. But we've had that problem, say, with Bowler. We've had that problem before with Kai. We've had that problem before with various other players in the past who names escape me at the moment. But there's a whole long list of them. But I think if we're going to be playing a more positive style of football, you've got to find a place for a likes of Dembele and Bowler and Kai and these sort of players. And I'm sure we will. And it might be a case of horses for courses against certain teams, and he might not play every week. And but from what I've seen of him in the small bits that we have, he is the key to unlock many doors, isn't he? In our level, particularly.
No pun intended there. I need to rewind and listen to that. Anyway, the small reference. Anyway, I'll swiftly move on. We had a penalty appeal. Tim, you were there in the flesh. What did you think of that? And Jordan Rhodes, you'd bet your house on him putting that chance away that Lavery was then nailed.
Yeah, I think there was a few. There was a few scenarios, wasn't there? There was the one where Jordan had the chance to lift it over the keeper, and then there's the one where Lavery gets clattered by the keeper. There's the one that comes in from the right that Jordan then but he just goes slightly wide. But I think what it showed collectively in the second half was that we were fighting. I mean, it didn't touch the ball in the 6 yard or in the penalty area in the first half, didn't Jordan Rhodes, because we weren't getting the ball to him. And when you get the ball to that man, he's going to score goals for you. And I wouldn't say any of them were goals that you would say he should have scored. You might hope they might score one of them. But bearing in mind the fact that how did he miss the first 3 or 4 games? He's like now second top scorer in the league, behind Devante. What's he called? Cole. And Devante Cole scored about 5 in that first game, didn't he? Something stupid. So if you take that first game out of the equation against Port Vale, the way he scored absolutely ridiculous numbers, is the most prolific scorer in the league.
I saw a stat today, Tim, where he was the lowest goal striker in the division.
By the lowest way. What? Sorry,
goals per minutes on the pitch.
Yeah,
by quite a long way, by like 15 or 20 minutes or something like that.
And it's our player. And listen, nobody knows what's going to happen in January, and I think we could talk it to death about what will happen then. But the reality is, I've listened to that half-hour interview he did, and again, I commend anybody to listen to it. It might be on Radio Blackburn, but listen to it, because he's such a measured individual. But what comes across is he's absolutely loving being here. He's loving it. His kid's got he's got a Blackpool kit. He loves podcasts. I was saying that in the green room beforehand. So who knows, Jordan? If you're listening, you're loved, man. Stay here. But that's what comes across. He's happy. He's happy, and he's clearly had a couple of crap. Well, never had a couple. Probably 4 crap years, whether it's a result of injury or not quite. Interestingly, Andy Bays did think Andy went back a bit over the questions. He was answering things that Andy was also asking a question linked to that. But what came across was that a lot of the teams in the Championship and above are only playing one forward, and that doesn't quite suit his style. he's better when he's got somebody to play off. And we've seen that with Kouassi, I think, in particular. I think probably is his best foil. But he's a proven goal when he's played properly in the right position with the right support. He's a 20 goal a season striker every single season. Every single season. And if he stays with us this year, if he doesn't get 20 odd goals, I'll be gobsmacked. Assuming he stays injury free, I will be gobsmacked. And that's like gold dust, isn't it? That is like pure gold dust. If you can get a 20 goal a season striker, guaranteed, because that's what you're getting with Jordan. It's guaranteed. If you play him and if you play to those strengths, and it was interesting. He was on about saying Andy Bayes was quite good. I thought actually, he says like, he said all these managers have said like he's not fast enough, he's not strong enough, don't contribute enough off the ball. And Gary Bowyer, who's obviously managed him, just said, well, but you get what it says on the tin with him. And that is a 20 goal a season striker. And they don't fall off trees. And we've got him. We've got the best striker in Division 1 without hesitation. I say that. There's nobody to touch him.
You've got to
We've got to keep him here.
You've got to look, though, what he gets out of being here. So, right, if he goes back to Huddersfield, what's he going to get? Same as he's had for the last few years of, I don't know. I don't know where they are, but they're not going to be above mid-table. They might be fighting relegation. They might finish 18th. It's not going to be. He's 34 or he's 33. I think he is now. He's 30. I think he's 34 at some point in the season. So he's not got that long left. Or he could take us to promotion. He could end up with a final day, final game of the season Wembley winner, or being lauded as the top scorer in a league and cheered around the ground with everybody chanting, the pool are going up. That's got to be more enjoyable than going back to Huddersfield. Ultimately, if it is up to him, but that's got to be more satisfying than going back to Huddersfield and scrapping for 17th, 18th in the Championship, coming off the bench occasionally as a bit part player.
And Darren Moore got rid of him at
Sheffield
Wednesday, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
He doesn't. I don't think he suits the Darren Moore way of playing, just as he didn't suit the Neil Warnock way of playing. I mean, I got the impression that he wasn't overly happy with Warnock's treatment of him. But you look at, he's only played football. He might be 33, but he hasn't played football for the last 4 years. Not on a consistent basis. So he's actually got a lot of pent up, I want to play every single week. And what came across that interview was how much he's enjoying being number one again. And obviously, I just think it's a no-brainer. I think if that guy plays regularly in Division 1, he's going to score goals. There's no. I mean, we've seen it. It's the cup. It doesn't matter what he does. I mean, we scored. I forgot which game who we're playing now, but we scored that incredible goal where he went right across the box and found the corner. He's chested one in. He's stabbed one in. They come off. They come all sorts, don't they? There's not a defined way he scores a goal. He always, in that interview, he speaks about getting the good connection. He says he watched podcasts about golfers and tennis players where they talk about how they get their connection on the ball, and he tries to pick little things up from that, and that talks to me about somebody who's a winner, who even at his age isn't complacent, and that's quite. I'm really, really buzzing actually for what he could do, and just hope he doesn't get dragged back to Huddersfield in January. And I don't get the impression he wants that.
I was going to say you'd like to think of a guy who's I'm sure very, very well respected in Huddersfield's back room as he is now in Blackpool's as well. They'll listen to him, even if they want him back. He will have the opportunity to say, you know what, Gaffer, it's actually working out really well for me. I mean, my last 6 months of my contract, just let me enjoy my football and I'll see what happens in summer, rather than potentially sticking me on the bench again for the last 12 or 15 games of the season. And you'd hope they'd give him that sort of respect. And, for our sake, we hope he obviously stays and continues to score the goals for us. And And like you say, I also watched that interview, and it's just that everything's clicking for him at the moment, both on and off the pitch, and he obviously doesn't want that to change. So let's just hope that he can carry on scoring goals, and then when it comes to January or whenever he has to make this decision, you know, it's not really a difficult one for him to make.
It's a really weird one because when you look back, he's literally lost. I wouldn't say lost; it's probably a bit harsh, but where he should have been at the peak of his career, he's not played, has he? He's gone from that period from 28, 29 to 32, 33, and he's not played anything like the amount of games that you would expect from a player of his caliber. Because we all know Jordan Rhodes. He's a name that's been around for donkey's years, but he scored all his goals in his early 20s and into his mid-20s. I mean, he scored 20 goals a season every year at Blackburn, I think, for 4 or 5 seasons. He did it previously for Ipswich. And he's also done it for Huddersfield, particularly first time round with Huddersfield. And then it just seems to have stalled for him. And it must be incredibly frustrating as a player when you're supposedly at the peak of your attributes that it hasn't quite happened. And, you know, and I think it is partially down to the way teams play as distinct from his actual abilities. I think teams want to play with a big centre forward and play off them, don't they, with wider players. And that doesn't suit him. You know, it's never going to suit him. You're going to have to play 2 up front if you want to get anything out of Jordan Rhodes. If you play him up front on his own, it'd be crap. I can see that. He might get the odd goal, but you're not going to get the best out of him. No chance.
Tim, be quiet. This sounds
Here's
like
a fun fact. Despite what Tim said there about him missing out a lot of games, which he absolutely has done, if Wikipedia is correct, then tomorrow night will be his 600th career appearance.
Wow.
In all competitions. Club appearance in all competitions. 599 games, 236 goals.
Wowzers. That's impressive.
So, I mean, that is Wikipedia, so we can take that with a pinch of salt, but it appears to be accurate because it's got him, it seems up to date, 7 goals for us in 8 games, which I believe is right.
The goal itself, Mitch, was one of those rare breeds of goals that we often talk about, the diving header. It
was. Well, it was wonderful, wasn't it? Because he had 2 great headers in it. I mean, well, you know, how often do you get a goal with 2 great headers in it? And credit to Morgan as well. We haven't mentioned Morgan, and he's had a bit of tap this year. He's had some very strange games, I think. Sort of bit of this, bit of that. He was poor when he came on against Charlton, but I thought here, when he came on, he was very, very good, and he played that little bit deeper. And I thought that really suited him because he sort of sprayed the ball around and sort of dictated play a little bit more. And he played a glorious diagonal, or a diagonal that was made glorious by the man, the myth, the legend that is Mr. Jimmy Husband, nodding it across the box. And then Rhodes just... it was a diving header, but a sort of an angled, glancing diving header into the exact part the keeper couldn't get to.
Do you remember a Jurgen Klinsmann goal? Was it against Holland? 1990 World Cup. Remember, he did a diving header and just got a very slight touch on it. It was similar to that.
Klinsmann did a fair few diving headers in his time too. Yeah. He was the master of it.
Yeah, that's a great call. It was very, very similar to that. And actually, you know, Tim's very eloquent espousal of Rhodes's ability to score different kinds of goals. I think for me, this was one of the most impressive because it came on the back of a game where he hadn't actually played particularly well in front of goal, where he had missed some chances, where he had, you know, that he hadn't found that connection. He'd sort of scuffed one and floated one a bit short. And floated one over the top and glanced one wide, and it hadn't been going right for him, but to keep turning up and keep turning up and keep turning up, and eventually on I think it was the 5th effort he had on goal for it to go in. I mean, that just shows the hunger, doesn't it? Because a lot of other players, a lot of other strikers, heads would have gone down and thought, oh, it's not my day. Never mind, next week. But he going absolutely to the death at nearly 34 and throwing himself on the end of that. It wasn't an easy chance. Good as Jimbo's header over was, it was just kind of a hopeful header back into an area. Great finish again. And great work from Jimmy getting forward again like that. You know, he's the centre back and he's the most advanced player that makes the goal. So again, I mean, I've spent enough minutes this season on how good I think Jimmy is, but I think it illustrates what he brings to the team, which is a lot more than your average centre back does. Well,
we just switched play as well, so it wasn't like we'd had a concerted build-up that pushed him up there.
Yeah.
We'd got the ball with Morgan, and Morgan was either just in our half or most certainly halfway line. But he switched his play, and Jimmy's almost on the corner flag.
Yeah, he is.
Which is it just shows the attacking intent that we had at that point in the game.
And full marks for his celebration, wheeling off on his own. And then I think I'm right in saying he then celebrated in front of the Oxford fans.
Did he?
I think he did, yeah.
In true Jimmy style.
If I'm right, Tim, you were on the opposite side of the pitch to Jimmy. Yeah. So he just wheels away on his own right in front of the Oxford fans.
Love it. But what a result! What, you know, to put in that second half performance as we did against the form team in the division, obviously along with Portsmouth, and to have them on the ropes like we did, must give us confidence going into the game tomorrow night against the team at the bottom of the league. Scored 2 goals this season.
No!
Conceded 20. But this is caveated with it's on a Tuesday night.
I'm going to put a couple of quid on Cheltenham, I think. There must be about 20 to 1 tomorrow night.
Surely not. Surely we're not going to lose to these.
Our Tuesday night record is absolutely abysmal, isn't it, though? But sure, I mean, you're never going to have a better chance, are you? Really, let's be honest. And they've got their, they've got their first win now, so we don't have to worry about being the first team in this division to lose against them. And 2 weeks ago, I was looking at it and thinking, thank God they've scored. So that's that off the back as well.
We're always the team that sets these records.
Always the team. God, I remember, was it Aldershot years and years and years ago came? I think they've lost 17 in a row or something horrendous. But yes, surely to Christ we'll be bloody battering Cheltenham. But yeah, Tuesday night, who knows? But he might make a few changes. There might be a couple of knocks or whatever that we're not aware about. But as we mentioned earlier, we've got a team or a squad now where we should have 2 people in most positions who are capable. Norburn will be wanting to come back in. I'm sure that'll be one change he'll make. Be interested to see if he does play Dembele. Be interested to see whether he actually plays Lavery as well, because these players have come on and done something on Saturday. So, yeah, and I don't really know a lot about Cheltenham other than they're obviously bottom of the league. So, yeah, let's hope that why are we hoping against Cheltenham, for crying out loud?
It's Blackpool.
It is, isn't it? There we go.
How do we think it's going? Let's do a few predictions around the room, and then we'll call it a day. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to go because I'm on holiday. Bit gutted to be not going, but I'll be there in spirit, and I'll be there.
It's 2 hours drive, John.
Just say you go for a long walk up the fells.
Yeah, you might get called. Like local Blackpool idiot says he's going to Fells, doesn't turn up for 4 hours, and an incident was declared.
I've had one of my mates, I'm not going to name him. He'll probably be listening to this, who I forgot who they're playing now. Blackpool playing somebody in the Premier League, and he wasn't like his missus wasn't letting him go. So he said, I'm going out to get some milk, and didn't come back for 3 days. Took himself off down to London, just didn't tell her. That's what you need to do, John. You said just go out for some milk and just.
Is she still his missus?
She is, to be fair.
No.
But
Nick's done this.
That's what you need to do, John. Just take a leaf out of his book.
Right, yeah. There's a cog is now.
Cogs are work.
I was up at Scott's Corner. I came back when we played Preston one Saturday, and left the missus up there with the younger kids, and me and Sam came back to watch Blackpool Preston. Wasn't missing that one, but Cheltenham's a little bit different, to be fair.
Yeah.
Plus you go iPlay, you can watch, I suppose, as well, haven't
you? Yeah. I will give it some considered thought as I lie back on this headboard this evening. So just before we go then, round the room, predictions. Tim.
I can't actually see Cheltenham doing anything tomorrow, to be honest. I'm going to go 3-0 Blackpool.
Mitch, how do you think he's going to approach the game? Let's have a bit of a spin on this rather than doing mindless predictions. How do you think he'll approach it? Do you think he'll sit in again or play a more progressive and attacking game with Dembele pulling all the strings? Do you know, I won't be surprised if he drops Rhodes tomorrow.
I would. I think he's got. I think Rhodes is. I think the deal Rhodes has got with Critch is he wants to play every minute of every game, and that's
maybe drop's not the correct word. Rest. So
again, I think it's been very rare that Rhodes has come off the pitch. When he gets subbed, he tends to get subbed in the 80 minutes. There's times when I've been watching thinking, well, why don't you take Rhodes off now and rest him for half an hour? And he doesn't seem to do that. And I think that he's got Rhodes on the basis that Rhodes has said, I'll come here, but I want to play every minute of every game that I'm fit for. And I just want to play. And I'd be surprised if Rhodes would be happy at being dropped against a side that conceded 20 odd goals in, they're at the 2 goals a game they're averaging conceding. I think if you leave Rhodes out, he might be a bit annoyed about it. But I know what you mean. If you're going to do it and you're going to try and give Shane a game and get Shane firing and get him into form, then it would be a good game to do it. I hope he plays Dembele. I hope he really goes for it. I have got a mindless prediction, which I think will win 3-1, but I actually think will be really passive for quite a long time. Well, no. I think we'll be really passive for quite a long time. They will score, and then we will absolutely blitzkrieg them because, sort of stung by that. That's my prediction.
Matt, no mindless prediction. How do you think he's going to approach the game, and how are we going to win it?
Now Mitch has said that, I'm visualising it actually happening. I can see it being a passive, sort of slow 1-0 or something like that, really.
Matt, just stop your mid-flow. And if we do lose or not win the game, you need to regurgitate one of your famous Hitler bunker videos that you used to do back in the day.
Yes, I think we're going to have to find that somehow, aren't we? That gives me a job for the weekend, doesn't it? If that happens, bloody hell. We just can't drop points anyway. So, I will go for a unspectacular 2-0. Let's go for that.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you there. I think we're going to win the game. Probably 2-0, 2 or 3-0, something like that.
Before we end, can I just mention, as the honorary president of the Kenny Diggle fan club, how fucking brilliant that guy's playing at the moment. I thought on Saturday, that's one of the best performances I've seen him put in for quite a while, and I don't think it's the first one either. So, come on, Kenny.
He has been fantastic. He really, really has. And as I
He's
said
looking
in the
more
last pod,
as well.
Well, he's obviously listened to me saying there's no point in being at Blackpool anymore. He might as well move on, and then gone, I'll show you, you flipping
Your injured postman, you.
Well,
right, gents. Thanks for your company. I think we'll call it a day there.
Yep.
Try and get this this out as soon as we can. Obviously, there's been a few problems where we couldn't do this live in the form of a really crappy internet connection. But yeah, we've got this done, got this out there. So let's we're waxing lyrical about 3 points. Go on, Mitch. We're going to say something. Is that an intake?
I was just impishly thinking about apologising for your audio quality, John, because after the amount of abuse you give everybody else for their audio quality, is there a fly somewhere in your house? I'm going, can you kill it? I can hear it. And then just listening to your laptop, John, we've had to grin and bear it.
In my defence, right, I'm showing this to the camera now. I actually brought this on holiday with me, which is a far superior Rode NT USB mini microphone, which I was going to use for this segment, given the fact I'm not in my studio. But I conveniently or inconveniently forgot the cable to plug it in. So there you go.
Schoolboy error.
You can take off half of that statement.
It's over and above everything. The fact on holiday that you're doing it, John. So every credit.
Right. So, well, I don't know when we're going to coming back next. I won't make spurious promises. So just expect to hear us when you do, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading Up the Pool. Go on, the pool.
Pool.